Welcome everyone to our landscape tutorial. It's going to be an absolute pleasure as always to share all of this with you. A very eclectic mix of topics, questions, conundrums have arisen in the last week or so, mostly driven by things we've covered in other tutorials. Now let me show you the topics that I've put together. And let's try and make sense of this as a whole, because really it's one overriding concern that episodically, from thinking about it to demonstrating it to resolutions, that I'm going to share with you and answer those questions and calm some of those conundrums down. Starting with two quotations that have come to us in various discussions, and then some comments, heartfelt dealings with oneself, reflections on, interrogations of one's own practice, then looking for strategy solutions and things that we use ourselves, but beginning with this idea that professionalism for a long time has implied repetition of being able to produce the same result time after time. But the problem is, as we've spoken recently in this agentic AI age, that's what AI tools and AI agents are getting really good at. Therefore, professionalism needs to be about something more than just that style, that presence, that workflow. And then this really hit me a few days ago, where a friend said, in recent tutorials, you mention quite regularly this idea of quality of attention span. But in relation to the landscape masterclass, how does that apply to my landscape photography? Now, I see those two quotations as opposing aspects of the same problem. And it begs the question of how we remain in the driver's seat and not become a passenger. And to do this, obviously new skills are needed. And it seems well and truly it's meta skills. That's where value is going. The problem with meta skills, as simple as clear thinking, don't result from a social media distracted state. To be smart today seems to be more about asking the right questions, not having the right answers. So let's start with that premise and begin pushing beyond what it is we already know. And don't forget, we're talking about landscape photography in all of its genres. All of the things that pictures of land, country, place, belonging, being, and so forth can address and have addressed, and seem to be able to continue to address even in this very confused age we find ourselves suffering. But I'll come to those observations shortly in looking at solutions or strategies that may also be of some assistance to your good selves. Now, I parry this with two observations, and this is now starting to encroach upon that quality of attention span, the ability to not be distracted, the ability to persist, to understand things deeply. Now, working at the speed of chemistry, it was slow. It was difficult work, figuring something out. And then the discipline, the patience, the hours spent overcoming the frustration, the confusion, that led to the knowledge, to the understanding. The process forced me to take my time, to go over things again and again, to be immersed within, to be focused, to be patient, to be disciplined, to come to understand things deeply, as I said, in a way that was unforgettable. But it takes time to contemplate something. And we know this from our everyday common sense. That means looking long enough, hard enough, to really see what's in front of you, let alone what you can then do with it. Contemplation, quality of attention span. Now that's neither an antidote or a solution, but I put that forward and repeat that mantra that learning is a vulnerable activity because it means admitting you don't know something. So then I come to the third point. I've always thought I was an experienced and competent landscape photographer, but my comments about creating a technically perfect image of a beautiful scene, only for the image to end up feeling empty, that's increasingly how I feel about my landscape photography. I realize this isn't a problem of technique or equipment. It's a meaning problem, but I'm also unsure where to start. Then the last thing I'm going to do in terms of how do we encourage ourselves to contemplate what we're doing, where the process is now so fast that we need to impose something above and beyond the process in order to pull back and regain some of that quality of attention. And this came from a dear friend. Les, your workshop resources are extensive, but I find if I don't write down where something is, or when I come across it while working through your resources, I fear I may never find it again without having to re-watch every session, every tutorial, every video, and so on. I'm going to expand upon that. I'm going to evolve process-based answers to a methodology that we impose upon what we've already done in order for us to deeply engage with what we've done. So let's begin with that empty feeling. That's not an equipment problem, but he identifies it as a meaning problem. A little bit of revision might help this division between the representation of the referent, what's in front of the lens, what can be seen, and the presentation of things that can't be seen. Those who have done this workshop shouldn't be strangers to such ways of engaging with land, place, country, and so on, and turning it into something else, scaping it, and so forth. So we begin remembering this clear distinction between the two sides of the lens. And my friend traveling to these spectacular landscapes and photographing it with incredible competence, not just equipment used, but with incredible experience. And despite its technical perfection, it's just a beautiful scene. And I increasingly feel there's got to be more than that. Now, let's start with some solutions. 2 solutions to be exact. One is both exploratory but also gaining answers. And it's from that question about our extensive workshop resources. But let's just look at this as an experiment. And here is the README file, the extended database, the explanations of everything in our digital fine art printmaking workshop. The session recordings, the tutorials, the videos, all of the notes, and so on. There's 16 pages of descriptions of timestamps on videos to help you navigate printing aids, warm tone printing profiles, all of this that we provide. But hang on, somewhere in here, Les, you mentioned making test strips efficiently, and eloquently, and easily. But I didn't write it down. Where on earth is it? Now, remember, this is a PDF, so we can search, can't we? What about printing test strips? There it is. It's in session 6, printing test strips, at 4 minutes and 18 seconds into this workshop session, practical tips for efficient printing. There is my query, and there is my answer. But that doesn't mean I don't search for other topics that I am interested in. So there's 2 ways of interacting with our workshop resources. One, just finding the stuff quickly. And when you find a topic not in our workshop resources, what a perfect question for a tutorial, okay? Just like this question about printing test strips. And I'll do this both for roll paper, but also for sheets. I'm wanting to verify and test and work through episodically, contemplating, enhancing my quality of attention over hours, days, weeks, maybe even months, as I develop my understanding of the rendering of this image, its resolution, its presentation, because what it already represents is there. So let's have a look at that as a real world example. Here's our candidate, 60 inches by 60 inches, 150 centimeters by 150 centimeters at the resolution of our large format printer. But this is as far as I've managed to take this image during the capture, processing and editing of it. I've flattened all of my layers. I'm wanting to begin the iterations, returning this image to the world from which it came as a physical entity that occupies time and space, just like I do. So I can use all of my senses. Therefore, I need to make a test strip. This is how we do it. I'll just use a marquee tool. I can drag this out, and in Photoshop, it gives me numerical readouts with incredible accuracy. We typically take about a 6-inch slice, 150 mil. It makes it easy to calculate paper usage and so forth across the 60-inch roll of paper. And I've chosen areas which include a lot of key distinctions, colorimetric, tonal, and drawing, sharpness, and otherwise. I simply copy that. I'm on a Mac, so Command-C, Command-N to create a new document. The dimensions are what's loaded into memory in the cache. Command-V to paste it in. I'll flatten that and send through my RIP. Here I'm printing through Mirage on our large format printer on Canson Platine Fiberag with our BPWC profile. Let's select roll cut. Let's tell it we've loaded a 60-inch roll of paper. Let's center that with my perceptual rendering and so forth. That is what I then send through the printer. Now, it's on a roll of paper. So that is what comes out of the printer first. That is what the cutter cuts off the roll. So I make test print after test print, easy as. But the difference between each test print is that I've added some sharpening. I've added some color differentiation. I've changed the black point or the midtones here or there. I've increased or decreased the saturation of this rather than that, and so on. What about printing on sheets? Here, I've reduced this image down to 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters for this demonstration. Now, on a sheet, I'm wanting to make incremental tests on that sheet. I've already settled on an area. I've saved it as an alpha channel. It's 2 3/4 centimeters. Let's load that as a selection. Let's copy that. Let's create that new document and let's paste it in. I'll flatten that once again into my RIP Mirage print. Let's say I'm printing on the same printer with the same paper, the same rendering intents, except now I'm loading cut sheets. And let's stipulate A4, make sure we're not rotating anything. Let's place this at the top and center it. You can see the readouts left and right. And again, this is what comes out of the front of the printer. This is one of our large format printers, which can take paper up to 64 inches wide. So the pinch rollers are huge in order to hold and move such heavy media accurately, precisely. Unlike my A2 desktop printer, where I can get within 3 millimeters all the way around my border. Here, that's as close as I can print it, but that's okay because I'm making test strips. So I print my first test strip. Now, I'm putting the first test at the top. I then decide I need to make some adjustments on an adjustment layer, whatever tools that I'm working with. And then I reload that selection. I copy the new test of exactly the same area because I saved that as an alpha channel. And I load it like this, except now I come across to my borders. I can physically drag it. But I'm going to add 3 centimeters to the top. It is now down 3 centimeters. I've got 1/4 centimeter of white paper above it, so I'm not overlapping anything. And I've got space there to annotate on the print. And my next iteration goes 6, and my next iteration goes 9, and my next iteration goes 12, and so on down the sheet. Now, the whole reason for doing this cascading from the top of the sheet to the bottom is that if that is my first test print, and I reload that sheet of paper in the printer, the paper sensors will see that and often refuse to print. So there's a couple of solutions, ways of engaging with resources, knowledge in our workshops, not just the Googling and the large language models, but also a practical demonstration of creating a series of test strips efficiently, returning the image to the world from which it came for contemplation, where we spend time with those manifestations. Remember, it's time that's associated with quality of attention span that allows us to understand things deeply. This is not about a commercial undertaking. As much as I can, as quickly as I can. No, this is about presentation, not representation, in the service of my understanding, and especially as antidotes to that empty feeling that in an age like we're living in can so often come to us despite our love and engagement with the photographing of land, place, belonging. It can just feel like what we've taken for granted and done for such a long time is no longer self-sustaining, satisfying in the way that it once took care of us. I leave it at that and wish you all the best with your adventures in presentation, not just the representation of, and your contemplative engagement with the subject that matters to you. All right, so far so good.